Okay, I have 1:30 p.m. here in Queensland, and 7:30, I can read the clock in the back of the Buddha Hall, up there at 7:30. So should we begin? Do we have our Dharma requester ready to go? That would be Michael. And the Dharma request ceremony is ready. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Homage to the Blessed, Noble, and Perfectly Enlightened One.
Homage to the Blessed, Noble, and Perfectly Enlightened One.
Namo Sadanto Suchedoye Alahadi Samyao Samputoshi.
Namo Sadanto Sujadoye Alahadi Samyao Samputoche.
无上甚深微妙法，百千万劫难遭遇。我今见闻得受持，愿解如来真实义。Together, supreme, and wondrous Dharma, subtle and profound, rarely is encountered, even in a billion eons. But now we see it, hear it, and accept it reverently. May we truly understand the Buddha's actual meaning. 师父上人, 各位师兄, Venerable Master, Dharma friends, welcome to our sutra lecture this evening. Let's begin by invoking the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas of the Flower Garland Assembly. And here is the way we do that. We're going to chant the Chinese down at the bottom there. Namo Da Fang Guang Fu A Yan Ji A Yan Hai Hui Po Pu Sa Namo Da Fang Guang Fu A Yan Ji A Yan Hai Hui Po Pu Sa Namo Da Fang Guang Fu I-N Jing, I-N Hai Hui Fo Pu Sa, Namo Da Fang Guang Fu, I-N Jing, I-N Hai Hui Fo Pu Sa, Namo Da Fang Fu, I-N Jing, I-N Hai Hui Fo Pu Sa, Namo Da Fang Guang Fu, I-N Jing, I-N Hai Hui Fo Pu Sa, Namo Da Fang Guang, I-N Jing, I-N Hai Hui Fo Pu Sa. Indeed. It's our official beginning to our sutra lecture, and I want to acknowledge that we are here in southeastern Queensland, not far from the coast, and the weather is summer, and it's hot and muggy, and sweat is rolling down everybody's body who's sitting here. My cabin is not air conditioned, but it's open to breeze, and so it's very natural and nice. But there is a certain level of humidity and heat that just kind of takes it out of you, and that's our current situation. We are not in the eastern seaboard of the U.S., where Dharma Master Heng Sure, our senior nun there in Avatamsaka Vihara in Maryland, near Washington, D.C., just sent a movie that she took on her phone a couple hours ago. She couldn't push the door open because the snow was piled up so high. She had to push on the panic hardware to get the snow away because it was over waist deep. And this is not a joke. If you're trying to travel, if you have to travel for any reason, or if you're an emergency services personnel, this is a major storm that you have to deal with. So just to say, we appreciate the blessing that we have of weather that doesn't obstruct, and in our case here, we have, these are some photos from last night. These are unprocessed right from the camera, but this is someone who came to visit last night. This is Pauline, and she comes after dark. She's a brushy-tailed possum, and she's a mom, and they're marsupials. This is her pouch. And as far as Sam and I could tell, she's got baby aboard. She should have a bumper sticker, baby aboard. But that's Pauline, and here she is, munching away on her whole wheat baozi. We make some baozi in the kitchen that she really likes. These happen to have raisins in them, so she's She's very fond of food. So. Anyway, that's the kind of weather that we have. Today, one of the fun things about this GoToMeeting software is that it lets you see where people are as they join in. And we are just node to node. We're Queensland to Berkeley. But on Saturday, what time is it in California? It's early morning. It's 6:30 a.m. here, and it's 7:30 p.m. in Europe. And the lecture series was set up for Europe. I guess it's midday in Berkeley.
Yeah, Friday here in Berkeley.
Friday, huh? What time of the day?
12:30 p.m.
12:30 midday, right. And so as a result, because we're doing audio only, so everybody can just, check in there. Last week we had 33 different people tuning in, and we had Hanoi, Vietnam, we had Paris, we had Dublin, we had 3 places in Poland, we had Melbourne and London and other places in California. So how wonderful that is. Jerry informs me, our steadfast tech crew tells me that we've had 25 folks joining in this lecture via YouTube live, and then a bunch more who tune in later, to look at the archive version. So this is technology that really does serve, and it's great that I can be sitting here sweating with Sam Ong in our Buddha Hall here at the Paramita House in Gold Coast, and see you all in rain. I understand it's been raining in California. Is that right? I'm getting lots of water from the sky.
Yes,
yeah,
that's true. Yeah, we have a lot of rain here. That's really good.
Excellent. Yeah. Folsom Reservoir raised 40 feet. Somebody said. That's from a zero. That's from a dry start. But we'll take it, by golly. It's been a long wait for that rain to fall. Okay, tonight we will be moving through more of the verses, and the hard part is behind us in terms of understanding this Dharma. Now we're the Bodhisattva who's been explaining this text, Vajra Treasury, his name is. I'm going to sneeze here, excuse me. My microphone is equipped with a cough button. The cough button is when you know you're going to cough, you hit it's an immediate mute. It's my, I've got a cough button right here, so when I'm going to cough, oh, now we're back. So there's nothing like coughing directly into the microphone to make you want a cough button. Now we've got one. So the verses part where we are has been following the text part, the prose part. And the prose part Vajra Treasury Bodhisattva has already gone through the hard part of explaining the 12 links, how they pull each other along and how they can stop. The last thing we talked about was how even though this process pulls along and creates the world that we perceive, the world that we see around us, there is still, this sounds funny to say, there's nobody there in the end. It's empty of a core that would be me and mine, self. And that seems so strange because why we feel we're really here. I'm really here. I got up this morning, I had lunch, I came back, and I took a shower, and I know that I did those things. I can remember having done them. I still smell the soap. So what do you mean there's nobody there? Well, from the Buddha's point of view, there's nobody there. If you could also maybe say from a scientific point of view, from an analysis point of view. And the Buddha is saying, I'm going to take you down the 12 links. It'd be really interesting to find out what science would call the level of analysis that the Buddha is using. Is it molecular? Is he down on the molecules, you know, how small is a molecule? Is he on the atomic level? How small is an atom? Where is the Buddha watching the 12 links actually function, like links on a bicycle chain? Good question. I would really like to know what science would call the level that the Buddha is analyzing from, because it's real, it's happening, it's intimate to you and to me right this instant, but I can't see it. I don't feel it. This is one of those places where you have to take it on faith. And that's one of the hard parts about lecturing on prajna texts, right? Like the Heart Sutra, Xinjing, the Jinggang Jing, the Vajra Sutra. Anytime you get to emptiness, unless you are in samadhi that can perceive this yourself, you have to, quote, take it on faith. You have to trust that the Buddha is telling the truth, because I can't experience unless my mind is that quiet. That doesn't stop me from wanting to find out, however. So, you know, a little bit of faith is not a hindrance to understanding. The Buddha always says, try it out. And the invitation is there to experience it through samadhi, but, you know, you've got to be really quiet. You can't, your eyes can't light up at the sight of ice cream or chocolate. If you're a big chocoholic, then samadhi will be, for you, a potential. It won't be realized, right, in me. Because if you love things, if you hate things, then samadhi is not going to come and stay. And then I just got a note that my voice was too soft. Can you hear? Is that improvement? Is that better? Turn up the gain here.
Yeah, it's better now for sure.
Better now? Okay, I'll boost the gain just a little bit. Okay, here's our text. We've done the preliminaries. Let's take a look. So we're in an easier part now. Still, it's a challenge, but we'll get it. Okay, here we go. Right here. These are our Chinese words right here. Just a minute. Oops. All right. Is that big enough? Can you see the part in blue? Big enough?
Just
Bigger is better.
you're waiting for the screen to refresh.
Yeah.
It's a bit too small still.
Too small. Yeah, coming up. Okay, here we go.
I don't know if you know, actually on GoToMeeting, there's a little box on your control panel that lets you see what the viewer sees.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, if you just click there, there's what the viewer screen sees. You just click that, you see that? It's a little box.
Oh, okay.
Actually very
I'll
useful.
look for it. Okay, here we go. All right, bigger. Ready? I'm going to put my palms together. Let's do it. Let's read it in unison. I won't give you a line, you give it back. Let's do it all together. Here we go. 如是观察入于空，知缘性离得无相，了起虚妄无所愿，唯除此名为众生。Such contemplation leads to entering emptiness. Knowing conditions have no nature, one attains marklessness. Comprehending their empty falseness, one has no expectations, except compassionate pity for the sake of living beings. What? Okay. What did he say? This brings us to some very interesting contemplations. Here's Buddha wisdom at work. And by golly, there we go, nice and big. When I first met these ways of looking at the world, something lit up inside, and I just wanted more, because I recognized this at some cellular level, some deep, deep level, this was true. And my own insight couldn't get there, but boy, I wanted to. I thought I really wanted to see things this way, because I could get from just hearing it that the Buddha saw things the way they really are. Here's what I'm talking about. Our verse says, is this it? Did I go down? Here we go. Right. We're right here. Let me boost this up too so everybody can see it clearly. Let's make that 36. Yeah, that's our size. That's good. Okay. There's the 4 lines we just saw. Such contemplation leads to entering emptiness. Now, how do you enter emptiness? You don't. That's a meaningless phrase. That's pure Chinese. What it means is, from the Buddha's eyes, from the Bodhisattva's eyes, as he or she contemplates how the 12 links are working that we heard about last week, when you think about things that way, there's like a gate that you go through. And when you go through a gate, your way of seeing things changes. You enter a samadhi where leads to the perception of emptiness. You actually see that things are like a computer monitor. If I'm in front of the computer, I'm absorbing what I'm watching. That's very nice. That's my email. That's very nice. That's a YouTube video. You take the screen and turn it sideways, so you're looking edge on. It all went away. Do you mean it wasn't real? No, it was virtual. You perceived it as real. So you turn the screen, hey, I am looking at a box, a kind of a contraption, a gadget. Where'd it go? The Bodhisattva sees everything that way now. He has been contemplating the way the Buddha taught him, step by step, and now it leads him to a place where he is seeing all things around him kind of go to the edge, and they're no longer solid and real the way they were before. He sees that there's no core. They're hollow at the core. Okay? Now, next line said, he also knows that conditions have no nature. He attains marklessness. Oh boy, what kind of a word is that? Marklessness. Hang in there, we'll get to it. So he knows that conditions have no nature. What does that mean? This Bodhisattva at this point is curious. He's a curious kind of person. Somebody who likes to see what's really going on. I don't know if that was you, if you were the kind of person who took things apart. When you were eating something really delicious, did you want to know what it was made of? Or how it was made? I'm tasting mint, you know. You get a new Ben and Jerry's ice cream flavor, and you have to know, oh, there's cherries in there, and I'm tasting pecan, you know, like that. If you have that kind of curiosity about the world around you, the Bodhisattva does too. And he's looking at, how did that happen? Why did that happen? What happened? What made her say that? Right? Why does my mom always press my buttons? Things, you know, you have those questions in your mind. You'd like to know the answer. And so you analyze the reasons. You could say reasons have no nature. Why? The reasons that make something happen, right? The conditions that are there. And you look at them and you go, the conditions came from conditions. They didn't start anywhere. They didn't end anywhere. They just unite and fall apart. They unite and fall apart. Perfect example for people who enjoy grade school science is water. H2O. We talked about it before, right? 2 molecules of hydrogen, 1 of oxygen, water. But in the presence of cold, it destabilizes and it becomes ice. And then another condition arises, heat, and it turns into steam. And then you have another condition, which is a mirror, and it collects into moisture, and then it drips, and you have water again. So conditions coming together. Which one of those conditions was the original condition? No such thing. They're just, yin yuan. Chinese love to say, wa, yin yuan he he, you yuan. The conditions were there. You got this tie, this affinity. But they go back to nothing. And if you know the conditions are all like that, you get to this samadhi. We could do this, and it would be better. One attains the markless samadhi. It's not a state of marklessness. It's a samadhi state. And, okay, line 3. Comprehending their emptiness and vacuity? No, their vacuity. That's an interesting word. Their vacuity and their illusory nature. One ends. One has no further expectations there, except compassionate empathy for all living beings. Compassion and empathy, they're two separate things. Okay, we've massaged that verse. Contemplating like that leads to the perception of emptiness, semicolon. Knowing that conditions have no nature, one attains the samadhi, the markless samadhi. Comprehending the empty nature, the empty, and illusory nature of things, one has no further expectations about them except compassion and empathy for all beings. Okay, good. We got the words now. Let's see what it means. Please don't check your email, okay? This is tough going, but I want to show people what's going on here. We have come across, going the wrong direction. We've come across one of the Buddha's main teachings. And this is a teaching that pervades both Theravada and Mahayana. Below the sun. This is one of those dharmas that when I first ran into it, I was thrilled because I knew that the Buddha was onto something, and I hadn't found it anywhere else. Nobody else talked about this. It was San Zhong Jie Tuo Man, 3 doorways to liberation. Dr. Konza calls it 3 doors to deliverance, he calls it. And they are, keeps doing that. Empty, samadhi, signless, markless samadhi, and a wishless samadhi. What's it talking about? Let's make this some. Oh, sorry. Still in my Chinese mode here. Samadhi. Samadhi, in this case, is a state of deepening stillness and purity. The Bodhisattva's mind, as he or she meditates, is getting really focused, really clean, really pure. So, he or she has now perceived 12 links passing through, creating everything that he experiences, and he takes another step in and realizes there's no engineer pulling the switches, pulling the levers inside those links. It arises from molecules realigning with cold, with heat, with glass, with an ocean. It's just conditions coming together. At that point, what happens? He enters more deeply. He looks and sees that all things whatsoever have this empty nature. Furthermore, you can't know them. There's no, the wuxiang here, signless, markless, means your eyes want to see it, but you can't see it the way it is. Your ears want to hear it, but you can't hear anything permanent and lasting. That's what signless means. All the six senses have no way of grasping the ultimate reality of these things that surround the Bodhisattva. What was it described like? Do people know? I want to give you a text in case anybody's interested. It's called the Visuddhimagga. This is a Sri Lankan. This is a meditation manual by a Sri Lankan monk. About, what was it, 400? I could be way off on that. And in Chinese, it's called Qing. Where are we? Qing. Just a minute. Jing. Where's Jing? Jing Dao. Jing Dao. The path of purification. So this is the text. Visuddhimagga is Sanskrit, Pali. It's a Pali name. Jing Dao is Chinese. The English is Path of Purification. It's been out from the Pali Text Translation Society for a long time. In the Visuddhimagga, he describes the yogi, the meditator, who is entering these stages of samadhi, and it says when he enters this wuxiang, this signless, markless state of being, what can he see? He understands that everything that appears in front of him, from the time it comes together into that state to the time he perceives it through, let's say, his eyes, and his brain cognizes it or his heart cognizes it, it's no longer that thing. It's gone already. That's how Visuddhimagga, how scientifically profound is the awareness of Buddhist meditators from Sri Lanka back in like the 4th century. Anybody, let's see, should I do my own homework here? I don't have a copy of the Visuddhimagga. Sherfa would scold me for being inaccurate on my dates here. Visuddhimagga. Okay. Thank goodness I have my research tool right here, which is Wikipedia. Okay. Path of Purification. Buddhaghosa in the 5th century. Okay, 5th century, Buddhaghosa is the author. All right. So, he said, this meditator is so keen and so clear that they realize there is a lag between perception, between, quote, the coming together of conditions, the perception of that, the mind's cognizing it, and then conditions changing. So what he's seeing is no longer there. the instant that he sees it. How cool. Jin Chuan, what are you smiling at?
That's a good idea. That's a really profound idea.
Right. I was reading this in Konza, actually, Dr. Konza's book on sources of Indian Buddhist tradition or something. Yeah, so in other words, what you know is not what's there. Once you know it, it's no longer there. Oh, so, whoa, what microscope was he using for that? You know, what kind of meter, how fast? No, he's using his own mind. And because of that, the Bodhisattva enters another samadhi, which the Visuddhimagga describes as being ill. Like, are you well? No, I'm ill. Illness. Ill regarding the world. He says he has no further hopes that the world is ever going to deliver happiness or satisfaction. And so these three states occur when you visualize the 12 links, you actually see them as they are, you notice that their nature is one pulls the other. If it doesn't pull, the links all go. They all go away, and that's nirvana, right? Empty. You can't perceive them the way they really are because they're no longer that way once you perceive them. And as a result of seeing that, you know that there's nothing to hope for in this world. So these are called San Jie Man, the three doors to deliverance. Right? And these are not ideas. That's the point. These are samadhi states. You actually verify, you realize these. And, okay, so how profound is that? You know, when I first saw that, I was like, whoa, that's deep, but how cool. Further, there is another list that the Mahayana doesn't, there's a series, when people study our tradition, our school, mostly it's called the Tiantai Jiaoguan, the Tiantai schools, perspectives, and interestingly enough, they were formed just a century after Buddhaghosa. The Tiantai was before the Tang. Master Zhizhe, Master Zhiyi, who, I want to stay with our text, I don't want to go too far afield, but this is a really important moment in the history of Buddhism because before the 4th and 5th century, before like 550 or so, in China, pretty much Chinese monks had been looking back at India and saying, you want to know where it really is, what's really good? India. India is where, you know, the true Dharma is. We need to really understand Nagarjuna if we're going to understand anything. And the great commentators, one of them being Master Chengguan Qingliang Guoshi, National Master Clear and Cool of the Avatamsaka, he absorbed every bit of Buddhist knowledge that was around in the Tang, and he is pointing back to India a lot, quoting, you know, Ashvaghosha and Ananda and various, you know, and Bodhiruchi and these various translators and thinkers. From the Tiantai on, that stopped being the main focus. And what took over was, here in China, we think of it this way. Here's our version of the states based on our experience. In other words, Chinese Buddhism matured at this time. Just after Buddhaghosa in Sri Lanka was formulating this meditation manual, and others, he has other texts too, that is a handbook that's still resonating today. The Visuddhimagga has all kinds of neat stuff. If you all can find a copy, it's public domain now. It's being reprinted freely. It's a big, thick volume, well translated in Sri Lanka. That's where you can find out about the 9 stages of a decaying corpse, right? How do you contemplate impurity? 不净观, right? The antidote for lustful thinking, right? Looking at beautiful sights, beautiful forms. Girls look at boys, boys look at girls. If you at some point decide that you want to see through the exterior of beauty, you do the 九种, the 补净观, the 九种, what is it called? There's the Chinese name for the 9 stages of decaying corpse. And in the Visuddhimagga, he tells you how to do it. And it's really surprising. It's not what I understood. I know the Thai forest monks had this big thing about, we go into the morgues in Bangkok where the traffic accident victims are brought, and we go stare at them, and we cut off desire because we see the bleh of the body. And Buddhaghosa would say, oh, no skill, please, He would say, what you do is you and your guru who is supervising you only do this with supervision. If you decide you want to contemplate looking at impurity, what you do, between your walk, when you go out on your alms rounds, you may notice a dead body. What is it? Oh, it's a squirrel. Okay, oh, here's a possum. Oh, there's a dead bird, right? And you, with your teacher, you verify, oh yes, this could be a subject for my contemplation. He approves. Shifu approves. So you go and you pace yourself 100 paces away and you contemplate, you look at it, if it's recently dead, right? And you observe your feelings. You watch. And as soon as aversion comes, as soon as you go, yick, or gross, you're done for the day. You go away. If no aversion comes, indeed compassion rises instead, you go 50 feet and observe, watch. And then you watch your feelings as they arise, right? See what you're thinking. And then as soon as you get this fear or distaste or something, you quit for the day, right? So very, very gradually you go up, and then you notice, oh, goodness, gee whiz, the feathers fell off. Oh, look at that. The corpse swelled up. Oh, look at that. It turned blue. Oh, look at that. It burst. Oh, look at that. It dried out. Oh, look at that. The worms came out, the parasites, and then the bones showed, and then the bones went to powder, and aha, you realize, it is thus with my own body. It is thus with all conditioned bodies, right? So that's how you contemplate according to Buddhaghosa's Visuddhimagga. He's got all these gems in there. He also tells you how to meditate according to what are called kashina, the marks of colors. So the color blue and the color green and rising sun. It's a real meditation manual from a time when Sri Lanka was where some very powerful Buddhist practice was going on. So, okay, in that book, these 3 hallmarks of conditioned things become prominent. What are they? Kung, wuchang, wu, dukkha, anicca, nimitta, right? Anatta, right? Empty, kukong, impermanent, wuchang, not self, probably hyphenated. So this is the second list. Here was the first list, the 3 gates to liberation. That was our first list we just did, empty, signless, wishless. There's another entire set called the 3 marks, the 3 hallmarks of all conditioned things, which is empty, as this one, impermanent and not self. These are not samadhis, these are contemplations. And the Buddha said, look wisely, disciples, look with wisdom. You will notice that all things whatsoever are empty of a self, empty of any core, of any in-being, svabhava, and sometimes, he said, and furthermore, they are ill, meaning they don't satisfy. As we mentioned, they don't hit the mark, they don't hit the spot. All things are that way. Furthermore, all things pass on. all things must pass. Nothing lasts. And further, as soon as you try to identify with anything, you will discover that it's nothing more than a change of clothes. It's nothing more than a red mark on where you press on your skin. It's no more long-lasting than a bubble, a dream, an illusion, a dewdrop, a flash of lightning. Poof, gone. That's what all conditioned things are. So when I heard that, again, it was like, oh, thank you, Buddha. I might have seen one of those things, but I never saw it so clearly. I never saw it in a list before. Buddha said, yeah, there you go. Now, some commentators put the 3 gates to liberation, those 3 samadhis, together with the 3 hallmarks of conditioned things. And they put them together. Commentators like to do that. But I find that I get a lot of mileage out of just taking one of these and looking. Just kind of walk with this like shoes. Yeah, all things really don't last. The planet itself doesn't last. Right? We're seeing the ice cap melt almost before our eyes. So, yeah, things are like that. Furthermore, there are gates to liberation that you can enter that bring you to a state where you can be set free from the 12 links. Now, one of the commentators that I was looking at as I was researching these 3 liberation gates said, you know what's neat is these 3 things, here, this is what's cool. These 3 are at the doorway to nirvana, he said. Why? Because the empty, signless, wishless are still looking at the world, trying to figure out, why did that happen? Why did those conditions come together? But they also are able to show you the nirvana state of no conditions, unconditioned, not coming into being, not passing away. So they're kind of like a doorway between the conditioned world, the world of duality, and the ultimate reality of the Buddha. So interesting, huh? The 6th ground, giving us these 12 links, bridges Theravada Mahayana concepts. These things are very, very acceptable to the Pali community, the Pali world, but they give us the Mahayana perspective from the Avatamsaka point of view. Anybody want to comment? Anybody, Jin Chuanshi, is your Pali studies, your Sanskrit studies bringing you this stuff?
We try to talk about it, but I don't know if I have anything to really think about.
Jin Hosher, is this Dharma that you work with? Have you just popped up in your reading anywhere?
Not in DRBU. I've read the, how do I pronounce it again?
Visuddhimagga.
A few years back.
Right.
Yeah, but I don't have anything to add. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, they're not at home in they're not the standard Chan or Pure Land Dharma. But my goodness, there's so much juice in these, as soon as they're like, when you go to the optometrist, and the optometrist puts the lens in the machine and says, this one or this one? This one clear or this one clear? And you go A or B. It's like this. These are lenses that you put over reality, and there's a flavor. It's like it doesn't, you don't get this flavor anywhere else. And here the Buddha says, right, there's this and this and this. All you have to do is enter this doorway, and now you're ready for what? The 7th ground. There's still more to go. This is still just the first, the preliminaries, right? So there's correspondence between these three doors and the three marks. Insight in the not-self leads to emptiness. Insight into the ill nature of the world lets you abandon hopes or the wish to find happiness. You find the wishlessness. Signlessness is connected to impermanence, they say. All right. There we go. Okay, by golly, let us move on. Unless anybody's got a comment, question. Online, Jerry, anybody online? Are you online?
No questions so far. Tom
Okay.
was typing I guess he was translating the verse also.
Okay. Next, moving forward. Here we go. Ready? 大士修行解脱门，转意大悲求佛法。知足有为和合作，志要决定心行道。As the great knight cultivates the doors to liberation, he augments great compassion and seeks the Buddha Dharma. He knows that all condition is made from combination. Fixed in will and inclination, he diligently cultivates the way. We're going to work on this one. Bang on it just a bit. Okay. The calling the Bodhisattva the Great Knight that's a Matthew's Chinese English Dictionary translation. I don't know if we've got anything better necessarily, but it's 大士. And here we go. 大士. When the problem with it is that in English, a great knight, we automatically think of King Arthur. We think of Lancelot and Knights of the Round Table and knight-errants. And that's a little bit of goodness there because knights lived by a creed, right? If you think about anybody familiar with Camelot, the Lerner and Loewe musical, King Arthur's knights, Sir Lancelot, shows up, and he is the most virtuous of knights until he meets Guinevere, King Arthur's wife, and falls in love with her. Oops, not a good idea. And then he does. But he's always singing about the virtues and how important it is to be pure. So now, is that a fictionalized version of Knights of the Round Table in Great Britain? Yeah, probably, but there was something to it. They were supposed to be virtuous. So, 大士, big shi. And let's see here. There it is right there. I don't know what the Chinese is for 大士. Does anybody know, just for fun?
The Sanskrit
What is that translate?
The Sanskrit is Mahaparusha.
Mahaparusha, okay, big man. Big person, Mahaparusha. Mostly male, but not only male. The big Purusha, the big person, the big individuated one. So, yeah, Great Knight, probably not the best translation. And it kind of leads us astray because who's a Great Knight? Was it Sir Midas? Was it Sir Sagramore? Who was the Great Knight? Sir Dinadan. Oh, we think of Game of Thrones, right? If you want to see great knights on TV, Game of Thrones. So what would it be? As the great person, being, great person, great one, great one. You think Muhammad Ali, I am the greatest. Okay. Cultivates the doors to liberation. He grows in great compassion, and he seeks the Buddha Dharma. Since we're translating, let's look at this. We had a big conversation about this in our Avatamsaka group, which we'll be meeting again tomorrow for the first time since the sessions began. Why make Buddha Dharma one word? That reads funny, doesn't it? Can you see on the screen? Buddha Dharma. What I see is that. Oops. I see the break. My eye wants to break it there. Buddha Dharma, or adharma almost. Buddha Dharma. It's a funny thing when in fact it's two words. It's Buddha and Dharma. So we had a long conversation. Do we hyphenate? That's one possible. Buddha Dharma. Do we capitalize? What do we do? Jin Chuan Shu, you remember what we did finally? What was our conclusion?
Our conclusion was Buddha's teachings.
Buddha's teaching. Yeah, I like that. There we go. Buddha teaching. Yeah, Buddha's teaching. Yeah, that's real English. Buddha the Dharma. Not. We don't want a Buddha the Dharma. Seeks the Buddha's teaching. Okay, good. And this is further complicated because small d Dharma and large d Dharma, it's got to be large d Dharma, because Dharma can mean phenomena, but capital D Dharma is what the Buddha taught. All right. He grows in great compassion and seeks the Buddha's teaching. He knows that all conditioned things are made from combinations of other things, of conditions, right? This is not what it says, but that's what it means. It's a verse. It's really terse. He knows that all conditioned things, meaning everything he meets, come from various combinations of conditions. When things come together, boom, you know. For example, here's a perfect example. The weather here in Benogan is different from the weather further inland, and the weather on the coast is different from Benogan. By the time the ocean breeze blows the, 2.5 miles or 3 miles from the actual coast to us here in the bush, a lot of moisture has been dumped. So we can be dry when it's raining on the coast, and we can get rain, but there's no rain just 10 miles across the mountains. So what? Conditions, moisture, right? Obvious. The weather is an obvious example of what it's talking about. He fixed in will and inclination. He diligently cultivates the way. What is going on here? Think about it. You can never go wrong when you take the 10 Grounds chapter and locate it in human experience. This is not philosophy. It is somebody being moved by witnessing other people's suffering to make it go away. So what does it mean here? The Bodhisattva saw that there's a process going on inside every person and every non-human, every being. There's a process going on that makes us get old, get sick, die, and suffer greatly, including all the people around us. And at the same time, what does he see? At the core of it, there's nobody there. It's just this tragedy going on constantly. And he wants to wake people up and make it hurt less, right? So he cultivates the doors to liberation. He has gotten free because he actually sees the process going on. And his compassion grows because he goes, wow, and everybody's like this too, huh? And yet, in the dark, in ignorance, we just go on and carve up each other, eat each other, and we don't know. He sees that nothing there is anything other than conditions coming together. And so he says, wow, I need to learn what the Buddha taught even better. I want to seek what the Buddha laid down, understand the Dharma, put it into practice, and help everybody wake up. So he gets vigorous when he sees suffering. What is this? Motivation for the Bodhi resolve. Right? This is the Mahayana. Imagine if that last line said, he knows that all conditioned things are made from combinations of conditions, and therefore he seeks nirvana and never comes back. Right? Why not? Who could blame him? Her. He says, I'm free, I'm out of this pit of suffering. Excuse me while I hit my button and sneeze. My cough button. He doesn't say that. What we're perceiving is the Mahayana. This is the heart of the Mahayana. You witness suffering, you make it end, you don't go away, you teach others what you learned. That's it. That's what inspired me when I saw what my teacher did his whole life. So, any questions? That's our next verse. Motivation. That's what this is about. Nope. Okay. And one more thing. Notice how wisdom goes to compassion. That's the process. As much as he can see through and put down, that's how much the great compassion arises in his heart.
I don't know if this is helpful, but I can add another. I looked up the actual verse in the Sanskrit, and so they actually translate Mahatma to be Da Shi. Usually Da Shi is from Mahapurusha, but this actually has in the verses Mahatma. And we actually have a figure, I think we relate to that, which is Gandhi. Mahatma Gandhi.
Mahatma.
And Atma is the soul, or the self, you could say sometimes, the great one, the great soul.
Atman. Yeah, Maha Atman. It's an elision. It's a joining of the two A's. Mahatma. Maha Atman. Yeah, big soul. Nice. Yeah, that's helpful. Okay, one more. We will look again at our text. Oops, not that one. Thank you. We need this guy right there. Okay. Here we go. It's this guy right there, the one in the middle. Kong San Mei Man by
We see your email. Oh, okay, got it.
What's that?
We see it now. Okay. We were seeing your
Right
email
there.
account. Now we see the text.
Oh, I could use some help answering all that. Here we go. 空三昧门具百钱，无相无愿亦复然。般若顺人皆增上，解脱智慧得成满。 He obtains samadhi doors of emptiness, numbering hundreds of thousands of kotis, and of marklessness and wishlessness as many he obtains. Prajna and according patience both keep on increasing, liberation and wisdom both become complete. Okay, to obtain a door. We have long turned a deaf ear to some of the conventions that we came up with that just, I got a door of emptiness and I hung it, and it's a old-fashioned, it's got a glass panel in it. It creaks when you open it. Samadhi door. He obtains, let's see, to obtain a door, he masters the samadhi of emptiness. He masters samadhis of emptiness, numbering hundreds of thousands of Kotis, 句之, kotis, that's a Sanskrit word meaning many. Check this out. Marklessness and wishlessness as many he obtains. This is Yoda speak, right? Our Jedi master from Star Wars films. He always puts the verb at the very end. Many he obtains. So we don't want to sound like Yoda. He obtains many. Let's see. He attains many. He masters many gateways. He masters many samadhis of marklessness and wishlessness as well. There, that's English. Okay. Prajna and Shunren, those two levels, those two changes of the mind, wisdoms from consciousness, that patience from emotion before, both keep on increasing. Liberation and wisdom both become complete. Okay? We'll take that. Comments, improvements? People agree with my changes? I'm just riffing on this continuously about how the early translation gave us English, a special jargon, as if the Buddha talked that way. I don't think he did.
Dharma Master?
Yeah.
If one had a comment on the previous stanza, apparently she says 大士 is another name for Bodhisattva.
Correct. It is. They call him the Dashi. And they call bodhisattvas at the stage a Dashi. And it's funny, they don't call, that's not used for the Buddha as much. The Buddha has many other titles, you know. When we do the 88 Buddha's repentance every other night, Rula, Yinggong, Zheng Bianzhi, Mingheng Shi, Shan Shi, Shi Jinji, Wu Shang Shi, Hao Yu Jiang Fu, Tianren Shi, Fo, Shi Zun. Those are the 10 titles of the Buddha that we go through every other night. And those are 10, but there's apparently, many titles. Da Shi is not one of those in that, Mahapurusha, although at some times in some places it might be. There are conventions that pertain to specific teachings. For example, you'll notice that in the Avatamsaka, we don't hear about Ganges River sands much. Isn't that interesting? And yet in the Shurangama we do. In the Avatamsaka we hear about Wei Chen. We hear about particles of dust. So, titles, units of measurement, they can be specific to certain texts, certain times. These texts were translated over hundreds and hundreds of years as they entered into Chinese. What would it be like? We think of Shakespeare, right? When was the last time you listened to Shakespeare? There's a very interesting thing on Facebook the other day about a library in Australia that does a Shakespeare read-through. They just get a bunch of friends and sit in a circle in a library and read like the 12th Night or Troilus and Cressida or something, or Hamlet, and just read it through. So when we hear Shakespeare, we think, wow, that's funny English. I don't understand much of what's being said. But pretty clear that when that was current, when Shakespeare or someone else by the same name wrote that play and it was performed in the Globe Theatre in London, or Stratford, is that wherever the Globe Theatre was, people understood. He wrote in vernacular. So that was, Shakespeare was not trying to write highfalutin, right? Trying to write fancy English or incomprehensible. He was writing plays that people would laugh at. He wanted people to really get it on first hearing without a microphone, in this theater. So 2 centuries, 3 centuries, 4 centuries have passed. And now we go, that's quaint. That's Shakespearean sounding, we say, meaning a whole generation. In 400 years, English has shifted. So it's clear that over that same time period, Chinese Buddhist sutras shifted too. So what was Ganges River Sands when you're closer to India, maybe, after another period of time, became Wei Chan Shu, as many as particles of dust in a great 3,000 squared world system. So, okay. All right. Let's see. We have time for one more. Let's do one more here.
Or just to mention, my suggested paths or way instead of doors in that.
Good. Yeah.
Sure.
Paths. Well, yes, that's a possibility. I think it's talking about methods. Man here doesn't mean like a passageway. Can be at certain times. Here, I think it means samadhi states, methods, like that. Sometimes man can mean school. Foman can mean Buddhists, right? As different from, Rujia or Ruman, the Confucian or Taoist. So man here has a bunch of meanings. Here I think it's samadhi. He masters the method of samadhi. He knows reliably how to enter that samadhi and to come out of it too. But thanks. Yeah, we're looking for those suggestions. Okay, let's look at this one right here. Ready? 复以身心多功佛，于佛教中修习道，得佛法藏，增善根，如今琉璃所磨影. And further, with deep mind, makes many offerings to Buddhas, and within the Buddha's teaching, he cultivates the way, obtains the treasury of Buddha Dharma, and increases his good roots. That way the gold shines, the way that gold shines when polished with Vaidurya. Okay. Kind of quaint, kind of unusual. So we would say probably something like, then, or again, with sincerity, shen xin, with deep mind. What is deep mind? I have no idea. He, again, with sincerity, he makes many offerings to Buddhas. Notice how this is emphasized. My gosh, we have a Dharma talk ahead of us at some point about offerings, gongyang, because this comes up all the time. It's the third of Samantabhadra's practices and vows, the keys to the Bodhisattva path, which leads to Buddhahood. So making offerings, what does it mean? Well, if you have lucky enough to have a monastery nearby, you buy a plate of sushi and take it to the potluck, making an offering to lunch, right? Maybe you bring rice at New Year's, drop off the rice. Maybe you make an offering of SD cards for the monks' audio recorders, something like that. You bring in toothpaste, toilet paper, whatever you wish to make to provide for the monastics, that's an offering. Maybe you put flowers in front of the Buddha. There's an offering. Maybe you don't bring things to the monastery, but you provide health maintenance for the monks or nuns. Maybe you cultivate an offering to the Buddha of refusing to get angry. You just say, hey, anger rises in my mind. I'm in charge. I'm going to be patient instead. I'm going to let that rise and reclaim my energy instead of blasting. Nothing good comes of blasting it out. It's just a temporary kind of relief of the pressure. I'm going to hold the pressure and make an offering of that to the Buddha. And wow, what a great offering. Offering of Dharma is the best. So once you start poking around in here, it's like you discover there's all this discussion of making offerings within the Dharma. Who does it? Kuan Yin Bodhisattva makes an offering. She gets an incredible necklace of pearls. And instead of taking it going, wow, cool, I really scored today, Kuan Yin Bodhisattva goes, let's see, one strand to the Buddha, the other strand to the stupa of many jewels, the Tathagata. Gives it away immediately. I don't want that here. Not that I don't want that. I accept your offering here. How amazing that this particular Dharma is just emphasized. I totally had no idea when I drew near that this was something that would be very, very important. Again, with sincerity, he makes offerings, many offerings to Buddhas, and within the Buddhist teachings. Hey, here we go. Buddhist teaching. He cultivates, let's use a different pronoun. She cultivates the way. Okay, so the practices. Obtains the treasury, of Buddha Dharma. Here we got it again. Of the Buddhist teachings. Of the Dharma. We could even say of treasury of Dharma. And increases his good roots. There's another lesson, by golly. There's another lecture. Is what's a good root? That's such a funny word. And come into the Mahayana teaching, you got to deal with it. Shan, gun, good roots. I got good roots. Okay, I mean, very, very, very important. But we just don't think of it that way. Here's a tree. That tree's got really good roots. Look at that tree. Cool. It's remarkable roots on that tree. Nobody says that. Nobody pays attention to the roots of the tree, right? But the sutras, over and over, you never ever hear money. Money is empty, vanished from the sutras. You hear about good roots in every single page. Like, do you have money? Do you not have money? It's not important. It's what's inside of you. What do we say? The closest we get is probably wholesome qualities. Wholesome qualities. Right? Jin Chuan Shi, do you have the glossary on it? It's wholesome qualities, right? Roots of goodness.
We've been doing roots of goodness.
Roots of goodness.
Comes from Kushala
Even that.
Mula.
Yeah, Kushala Mula. Yeah. What's a root of goodness? It's hard. My point is, I'm exaggerating to make people remember. I underscore this stuff with my emotions and my voice just so that you can make the point and it doesn't just kind of pass by. What is this? It's important. It's talking about what carries me from ordinary living being to someone who recognizes their potential for wisdom and compassion. Ordinary people didn't go anywhere. We're just asleep to it. We don't know it. We cover it over deeper every day, right? Someone who's awake to it goes, oh, I made a connection. I really see that what I do is very important to myself. It's not whatever. It's if I can do more good, life goes better for me and the people I care about. If I do harm, it ripples out to the whole world. Roots of goodness. It's that. It's what comes of the roots of goodness. So very important. He increases her wholesome qualities. The way what? The way that gold shines when polished with Vidurya. Okay. When was the last time you polished your gold with Vidurya? Yesterday, Dharma Master. Okay, lazuli. Lapis lazuli. I had as close as I get to a conflict, not a conflict, a argument with a very good-hearted, very skillful Tibetan Lama, who is also a exegete, someone who lectures on texts, about whether lapis lazuli and Vaidurya are the same or different. And he's got his reasons and I have my reasons. And we like, I don't know. You don't know what you're talking about. I don't know. It's like, okay, so what is it? We still don't know. Here's the idea. Why did the Avatamsaka Sutra bring up this of all things? It's because gold and polishing gold is an analogy for ordinary person's good roots suddenly multiplying and becoming ripe and producing this incredible tree of Bodhi. Right? That's the analogy. If you are a jeweler, if you've ever made jewelry, if you know anybody who is a goldsmith, this makes sense. If you don't, this doesn't make sense. Apparently, in the time of the Avatamsaka's teaching, this analogy was available to people. We know enough goldsmiths, to realize how you take gold, which is not pure, it's 10 karat, it's add mixed in there with all kinds of stuff, and you put it into a tumbler with other kinds of stones, and it tumble, and the gold comes out purer. So that's the analogy, right? So I'm explaining this. Did everybody know this? Anybody know? It's like any jewelers? Or anybody who ever seen anybody do jewelry? Anybody? Nobody. Phil? No? No jewelers with this experience? So this analogy was kind of like at the fringe of your awareness. You want to know who's a jeweler? Who's an expert goldsmith? Is Professor Raoul Birnbaum. I hope Raoul isn't upset if I bring him into our lecture here. Raoul, growing up in New York City, had a connection with jewelers. I forget, it was grandfather or neighbor or somebody. But Raoul, early on, just the way some kids, learn carpentry, other kids learn how to work on cars, Raoul had the opportunity to learn about goldsmithing. And he is an excellent jeweler. He knows how to, cut diamonds and things and create these beautiful things. And the people who do this, he told me, the people who do it spend all day with a loupe, with a magnifier here, doing this, working here. They all have bad backs because you're, like that all day long. And they lead very quiet lives because they live at their bench. And when they're done, they produce something that the queen would wear, the king would consider wearing, something that sells for priceless. But the process of making it is that. And interestingly enough, this jewelry is so prevalent in Buddhism that there's a Prajna Paramita Sutra that's called the Diamond Cutter. And so smithing, jewelry making is a regular image in the Buddha Dharma. So gold shines when polished with Vaidurya lapis lazuli. What is Vaidurya lapis lazuli? It's, don't know. It's either Vaidurya or it's lapis lazuli. Lapis lazuli comes from mines in the Hindu Kush that are currently under the control of the Taliban. So it's not easy to get out. Okay, there we go. By golly. Okay, we're going to move away from the sutra at this point and move over to our Buddhist idioms. And we've been talking about Buddhist idioms, right? Unpacking them and what we get out of it when we do. And, boy, we came up with a funny one. I hope you all will help me with this. And it's a 4-character phrase. And the 4th character, 4th out of 4 is what? 4.
We don't
Last
see
one
it
is,
on the screen.
I know, I'm hiding it. You notice that. Very perceptive. Well done. Blank screen. So 4 is the last part. The second word is me. The 3rd word is to. And the first word of the 4-character phrase is ah. Put them together, and what have you got? Amitofo. And why do we bring that up? It's because probably numerically, of all the Buddhist idioms that we have, this might be the one used most often. Most often. Did I jump too quickly? Did anybody have any questions about Vaidurya and gold mines and roots of goodness and cultivating and making offerings and such? Each one of these verses is jam-packed with these images, right? And we just kind of skim over the tops of the waves because we do want to finish at some point. We have come out of we've gone over the mountain pass of the highest meanings of the 12 links. We're down on the downslope of the refrains now. So the hard part's over. The next, we're gonna be finished probably with the 6th ground entirely next week. We have 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 4 more verses. We're going to finish the 6th ground next week, which is good news for those of us who ever aspired to getting to the 7th ground. So, okay, Amitofo. Everybody knows what Amitofo is, right? Well, there's one. What is Amitofo? It is the Buddha's name. Okay, we know that. Amitofo. Amitabha, the Buddha of limitless light. Okay? But that is not the only way that Amitofo is used in the Chinese Mahayana. How else is it used? Hello? Amitofo? Wei, Amitofo? Hello? Right? Taiwan, Hong Kong, Malaysia, Singapore, China. Amitofo. Right? Hello? Absolutely. What else? Goodbye. Funny. Right? You hang up the phone. You say, Amitofo. Right? Absolutely true. Well, how can one word be both, right? What else? What else? Thank you. Somebody, opens the door for you. If you're in the Buddhist world, you go, Amitofo. Amitofo. They hand an offering to a monk. Oh, Amitofo. Right? What does it mean? It means thank you. Clearly. You don't say, xie xie. Right? No, you say, Amitofo. Okay, what else? Help. Amitofo. Amitofo. Right? If you're scared. I was told, now, I don't think this is entirely true, and it's kind of nasty, but there was a time in Hong Kong when monks were not so popular. And the saying was, if you see a monk, grab for your wallet, because their hand is when you get to your wallet, you're going to find the monk's hand in your wallet. Right? Because they were known to be some of the richest people in Hong Kong. And that money came from people, making feng hong bao, handing red envelopes. So the saying went like this. In Hong Kong, when people see monks approaching, they go, Amitofo. Like, Buddha, protect me. Not, Amitofo, Fashi. No, but Amitofo. Right? Help, here comes a monk. No, not good, not good. That's slander? I don't know. If you're surprised, Amitofo. Right? You're totally surprised by something. That's the first thing you think of. Okay, what else? If you watch martial arts films, especially the cheesy ones, on late night TV, the Shaw brothers particularly, Run Shaw. If there's a monk in the film, and there are a couple signs to know. If he's got beads that are this big around his neck, he's huge. Every bead is like this, around his neck, and he's got a staff, and he's usually got big eyebrows, and has a big mustache. And if you see him, what will he say? He will say, "Amitofo," and he's going to die before the film is over. It'll probably be the final climactic fight, and the hero, whoever he is, will wind up knocking out the evil monk who's got some kind of kung fu or some evil stuff. And that monk goes, "Amitofo," like that. So that's the evil monk phrase. And finally, it is also our method for chanting. Amitofo, Amitofo, Amitofo. There is also a use of Amitabha, which comes from a genuinely compassionate heart. If you're driving down the road and you see a dead animal, roadkill, what do? You go, Amitofo. Right? Amitofo. When I feed my bird, Ali, feed him, Amitofo, here, Ali. And he's like, so he gets an Amitabha with every piece of ham. So, okay, I came up with 9. What else? Any other uses for Amitabha?
Jinkoshi said that some people use it for yes. Somebody says something, Amitofo. It's a yes.
Okay, that's good.
Pretty much for everything in the monastery, it can be an Amitofo. You have to kind of go
That's
by
true.
context.
Yes.
When you
Okay.
hear that someone has done something really stupid, and you're like, Amitofo.
Correct.
That's like inconceivable.
Inconceivable,
That's
amazing.
inconceivable.
Good.
Ikhwan said, good morning, good afternoon, good night.
Good morning, good afternoon, good night. This is actually going to be 12. Good morning, good afternoon, good night. And essentially, here we go. Everything in the monastery. That's kind of a broad category. All right. So look at that. How amazing, right? This is, my numbers don't sequence here, but we'll get there. So, Amitofo, this one 4-character phrase, somehow has morphed, has changed into all these uses. Look at that. How about that? Okay, there is a 4-character phrase. That is a 4字成语. Good. Another one for fun? 现身说法. There it is. Now, BTTS, I brought this one out because it is a perfect example of Chinglish. This is how Chinglish works, right? We will hear this. We say, oh, wow, so-and-so just, 你要现身说法. Okay, what do? Manifest, body, speak Dharma. One word, one Chinese word, one English word. I'm going to manifest a body to speak the Dharma. Not on my property or anything. You do that, you got to go outside. Is that legal in California? Manifesting a body. This is like, what do you mean? Is there an English phrase that captures? What does it mean? Manifest a body to speak the Dharma. It means to teach by example without words. But not only. You could actually speak. But it means show up and show us. Practice what you preach. Don't simply explain it, show it. Right? Like that. Do people agree? Illustrate the Dharma principles by your personal example. Show us. Practice what you preach. Heng Sure. Somebody, you think, oh, it must be a bodhisattva who uses psychic powers to like pop up out of empty space. Well, yeah. Guanyin Bodhisattva Heng Sure manifested in the human realm, showed up in the human. But I don't think that's entirely what it means, and the English translation doesn't help. In fact, we do have English ways already there to say this, and it's something that people actually say, which is show, don't tell, partly, or illustrate it by an example. Show us with a sense of don't merely tell us. Do it yourself. Illustrate the Dharma principles by your example. Anybody else want to take a crack at this one?
Walking the walk.
Say again, Heng
Walking the walk.
Walking the talk. Mm-hmm. It's not exactly that. It's not that you so much that you only talk it. It's like it's more. There's a little shade of this that's different, which is do it in person. He manifested a body to speak the Dharma. You could say giving a virtual lecture on GoToMeeting, which is then posted to YouTube, is a kind of Shen Shuofa. Shen virtual Shen Shuofa, he appeared on the monitor, appeared on the screen to speak the Dharma. Kind of. But the speaking the Dharma part, Shuofa, is also, doesn't mean sitting here speaking the Dharma. It means to illustrate a principle in person. Go and actually do it.
I thought you really got the phrase when you said teach by example or teaching by example. I think that's actually very straightforward. And I think that catches the spirit. This is basically you're not actually need to say anything, but you're teaching through your example.
Right. Good. Okay. So, and how many times have we heard this? I mean, so many times. What do we say? Manifest the body and speak the Dharma. It's like, that's pure Chinglish. No, it means, show me what you're talking about, and I will believe you, if you do it well. Cool. Okay. I would hope that people would nominate phrases they would like to work on. Look at this. Look what we got out of Amitabha. Good grief. It's like 12 vital ones. Here's one I thought of. The 3 non-outflow studies. Oh my God. What in the world? The 3 realms are like a burning house. Right knowledge, right views. That's a really powerful one that we hear a lot. So that needs to be unpacked. Buddhist idioms. Okay? So if folks would please think about some phrases that they have heard Shifu talk about, that have come up over and over again, but that need unpacking. We need to understand them, because why? They're carrying the mail. They really have juice in there that we can better understand what we're about if we can decode the code. All right. Jinchuan Jinhosher, did you kind of got that idea when I first introduced it? Can you talk about that a little bit? What is the, I mean, the fun part of that? What's the important part of that Buddhist idioms project as you see it?
Well, I don't, maybe it's as a first thought, just from doing those last couple of phrases, that's actually very helpful for translators who do interpretation. Because what happens when you interpret is you just go for the immediate thing you can grab. And so you go for each character, right? Manifest,
Yep.
body, speak, Dharma. Okay, got it. Next concept. And so to do a kind of really thoughtful idiomatic to idiomatic translation takes a little bit of previous thought. And so having that, oh, that actually means teach by example. Actually, that's very clear. Then that's useful for translation. But for me, I think the thing that really goes deep is actually because we hear this so much, when we actually process it, then when those words come up, it brings up more experiences in our system that we can associate with that word, with that experience. So actually what struck me last week was, I think Yihuan mentioned the word yu, which I never actually thought about before. She says it's like a valley of lack, this kind of chasm of a lacking. I never even knew that Chinese desire meant that, lacking and not being filled. So anyway, the mind longer.
Yeah. Nice. Okay. Great. All right. Okay, so we did a couple idioms and we did 4 of our verses, and we're going to be 27? 37. And one of our regulars, a woman named Michelle, stayed up afterwards and said, I just wanted to tell you that I have all kinds of willing to try it now, but she said it was because discovering, but I would sure like to polish that. Extended family members, who is known as the Master Shrenhua Distinguished Humanitarian Award recipient. The first one, Shan Yuxiang, who's Powers suggested we award it to the Pope. Get a sense of the magnitude of this, sound, and it's coming from the dedication that she puts into her personal practice, translated to the keyboard, and the spirit that comes out to happen on the 6th. And we'll have a large group of folks going down, I hope. So it'd be good to support that. Flint Center, there's the information right there. 4 p.m. Saturday, Lunar New Year's. We're hoping that the Bay Area Chinese community will kind of rally around, because this is a special event. And it's really stirring. It's really beautiful music. Okay, Yuan, how's it working?
Okay, yeah, we're back now.
Okay, and in
Good, okay. Okay, BBM?
Yeah, and in Berkeley we'll be having a day of recitation here as well. So in the morning we'll recite Om Mani Padme Hum, and in the afternoon we'll have an Amitabha recitation. So that's on February 6th, on a Saturday. On February 7th, we won't have any activities here. That's the Sunday before the Chinese New Year, so people can spend some time with the family. And then February 8th, if people are interested, on the actual Chinese New Year, we will also have a day of recitation. And Jing Fosher will be back to help lead it. So if people are interested, please stay posted. We'll have more information next week.
Okay, great. I will be talking about Maitreya Dharmas, because the Saturday night lecture will be that same Saturday on New Year's, prior. I'll be Saturday as the one who introduces Sudana to enlightenment. he brings him into the door of the Vairochana Buddha's adorned magnificent pagoda. All right, good stuff. Thank you all for joining. Let's get the dedication of merit up here. And here we are. See if we can't find it. Is it there? Yes, it is. Good stuff. Okay. So the world could use some dedication, could use some merit. Make it your gift to people in the world who don't have enough blessings to make it through the crises. The weather is an issue, will continue to be. Snow is falling on the East Coast. All right. See you all next week. Here we go. May every living being, our minds as one and radiant with light, share the fruits of peace with hearts of goodness, luminous and bright. If people hear and see, our hands and hearts can find giving unity. May our minds awake great compassion, wisdom, and to joy. May kindness find reward. May all who sorrow leave their grief and pain. May this boundless light dispel the darkness of their endless night. Because our hearts are one, this world of pain turns into paradise. May all become compassionate and wise. May all become compassionate and wise. Right, see you all next week. Now to the Buddhas.